Ladies and gentlemen, this is Remake video. Let's discuss Resident Evil 2, shall we? So, Resident Evil 2 has been probably the title that everyone wants to know if Capcom eventually are going to be doing a remake. And, well, Capcom have actually taken to Facebook and did a poll asking gamers, hey, do you guys really want this? Like, is it something that you're truly interested in? I'll get to that in just a second. Now, as many of you know, Resident Evil 2 is receiving a fan remake, and this has been something that's been worked on for a while. Originally it appeared in Unity Engine, and now Invader Games are even releasing Resident Evil 2 Reborn on Unreal Engine. However, naturally this is not an official release date, or an official release, shall I say. But what we do know, of course, is that it's going to be fairly faithful to the original, and is going to require a beefy-ish system to be able to run the title. However, it didn't take too long before Capcom are asking people. This was a post by the firm's R&D Division 1, which of course are infamously responsible for Resident Evil. We would like to express our deepest appreciation to all Resident Evil fans for your passion, enthusiasm and continued support for the Resident Evil brand. Obviously in Japan that would be known as Biohazard. Enthusiasm for a Resident Evil 2 remake is something that we've been hearing about from you over the years and has drawn some recent attention in the media. However, the team owns the Resident Evil brand, and we're not really certain how we feel about this approach. We'd like your honest and frank opinion about the Resident Evil 2 remake and what the brand identity is supposed to be about. Now, obviously everyone jumped on this, and there were thousands of shares, thousands of likes, thousands of comments. In fact, I myself commented on the damn thing. I actually saw it on the commute to work this morning when I was heading towards London. And I really wanted to do something on it then, but I just couldn't because I was on a train, quite literally. But it didn't take long. In fact, just a few hours later. I'm not sure exact time frame, but it's not long at all. And Capcom responded to the fan feedback, and they said, well, I was told by my boss to check out this post by R&D Revision 1 on the Resident Evil Facebook page, and this is amazing. Thank you so much for your passion and continued support for the Resident Evil brand. He was telling me, can you make a worth seeing a game to answer these fans full of passion? So the order actually made me super excited. Now, you'll notice that there are some points there. They're not confirming that Resident Evil 2 is getting a remaster. Personally, however, it does sound like it's possible. Now, there are some questions I'm sure many of you are going to kind of bring up. First of all, what are the controls going to be like? Are they going to be the kind of tank controls, or are they going to be more the modern style controls? I don't necessarily mind either way, to be totally honest. The big question, however, is will it receive a full remake, or will it be like a HD? So, kind of like an upgrade of maybe the PC version with slightly better textures and slightly improved models and so on. Personally, I'm hoping for the Resident Evil remake treatment. In other words, where they basically rebuild the bloody thing from the ground up. For more information on that, you could check out the original version, which of course was released on like the PlayStation, the Saturn, and even the PC. And then the remake, which originally did rounds on the GameCube and then was ported to a variety of different other systems, including, of course, most recently the PC, the consoles, and so on. Anyway, there are other possibilities. It won't necessarily receive a full HD re-release. It might be that it utilizes the same engine as, say, Revelations 2, which I wouldn't necessarily be against. What would be kind of cool, however, in my opinion, is if they did the Black Mesa approach, which of course Valve have taken with the developers behind it. In other words, they take the work basically of the mod, of the fan-made project, and then they run with it. They say, hey, you've done really fantastic work. We've got the basics here. We don't really feel comfortable necessarily charging for this, but what we can do is we can take your work with you to improve it, put a small team on this because obviously some of the work's already been done, and then improve it, get some you know, new voice actors in possibly, and go forth and create. Because, you know, if they utilise Unreal Engine or Unity Engine, they could put together a great deal of work. Personally, my own personal opinion, I would love to see Resident Evil 2 remade. I really want to replay it. But there are some problems with going back to it, to be honest. I remember it from back in the day. I haven't played it recently, but I remember it back in the day when the game looked really impressive for the time. And so, and I know this is probably going to draw some criticism from some of you, but mentally I have problems going back to it now, because I just see all the, you know, the art and stuff, and I just remember it looking so much better. And I don't usually have problems going back to retro games, but for some reason, maybe because I love the game so much, it just really impacts me that little bit more. That's not to say I don't enjoy the game. I have still, like, dabbled, but I can't. I think that if they did do a remake, I'd enjoy it a whole lot more, because I think that you would actually get a vision of how they really intended the game to look. I'm also hoping, on the same breath, that Resident Evil 3 also gets a remake, because I think Resident Evil 3 is also really, really good. And obviously, the two stories are so intertwined with one another, it would make a great deal of sense to me for them to kind of throw them all together into an awesome package. And obviously, one of the benefits of Resident Evil 2 is they could also release them kind of like scenario modes, because obviously there are different scenarios. There's both Leon and Claire, but they both have two set scenarios. There's like an A and B scenario, which obviously makes the game a little bit different, and you have to fight slightly different enemies and slightly different story paths and all that jazz. So what might be a good idea, because we know that Capcom are struggling a little bit financially. So what I would suggest is they could go the route of, as I mentioned earlier, using the fan-made project, or even if they decide to not do that and do it internally, or even if they do decide to do that, what they could do is release them as kind of like maybe every 3 months. So the first month the first batch, I guess, we would get is like Leon scenario A, then 2-3 months later we could get Claire scenario A, or what have you. And I think that would be maybe one way to do it. It would help stagger the cost, and it would also help to improve development. I don't think we'll see a Kickstarter or anything like that, although it would be kind of cool, and I think fans would be happy to do so. But I don't think AAA companies, at least Capcom, are quite ready to do that yet. That's just my gut feeling. But do let me know your thoughts on this one. Resident Evil has been my love affair for some time. I'm not like the biggest Resident Evil fan in the history of mankind, but it's one of my favourite survival horrors. I would love to see it remade. It's not the only series I'd like to see remade by any means. I'd love to see the earlier Silent Hills remade. And while I'm at it, Parasite Eve 1 and 2, maybe, possibly. That would be pretty awesome. But for now, let's just start out with Resident Evil, since Capcom are actually being kind of cool about it. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.